Hey everybody, this is Carlos,
And I'm Maria.
and you're watching Revisiting the Mania, a Wrestlemania rewatch podcast, and we're revisiting WrestleMania 15, and we are not alone. We have a guest who revisited WrestleMania 2 with us, Nate.
Hey, everybody.
So this is the show that travels back in time to visit all of your favorite matches who for people who love wrestling.
Yeah, so today we're talking about WrestleMania 15. Like Carlos said, if you haven't met Nate, watch WrestleMania 2 and tell us what you think about that in the comments.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
So, we start off here with Boys to Men singing "America the Beautiful," and I think we had like a break and people coming out and singing like either the national anthem of the Star Spangled Banner and "America the Beautiful," and now we get Boys to Men. So Vince must be making money again because we have a hot band coming
Oh,
out here and giving us some entertainment.
they're definitely make money. We are neck deep in the Monday Night Wars at this point. We're,
Yeah.
Hmm.
we're going on for life. So, I mean, Monday Night Raw was getting better ratings than Monday Night Football at this point, and people were switching. Well, actually, up until about 2.5 months before that, people were switching back and forth between Nitro and Raw because of just 2.5 months before this was the infamous finger poke of doom on Raw.
Yeah.
So Nitro is starting to really slump, and Raw is now. They've been getting better ratings for a while, but there's a lot going on, and it's also the time period where what's happening on Monday is better than any pay per view.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They're really pulling the angles out every Monday instead in order to stay in the ratings.
So is that still Monday Night Raw that's happening on Mondays?
Yeah,
Or
Monday Night Raw
Yeah,
before WCW, the equivalent to that was Monday Night Nitro.
right? Oh, okay.
yeah.
The finger poke of doom for you, you may not have known.
Yeah.
WCW had Kevin Nash facing Goldberg,
Mhm.
who Goldberg was the champion after Goldberg was undefeated for how
And
long?
white hot. I
Wow.
mean, loud pops for Goldberg. The crowd loved
Yeah,
him, but couldn't really wrestle that well. Kind of green.
yeah. So he's been undefeated his whole introduction to WCW.
Mhm.
He faces Kevin Nash, the NWO Wolfpack version, uh, and he ends up winning because Scott Hall comes and cattle prods Goldberg during a spear,
Right.
and then Kevin Nash is the new heavyweight champion.
Mhm.
The next day, Hulk Hogan challenges Kevin
He
Nash,
returns. He comes out. He hadn't been on TV in quite some
yeah,
time before this.
Wow.
and Hulk Hogan is the leader of the NWO Black and White.
Okay.
So the NWO had fractured. They were like kind of a biker gang that got too big and they fractured.
Mhm.
Um, Nash accepted, and there was like a whole hype to it. I think that was the main event for Nitro, right?
Yeah, people have been waiting to see the leader of the black and white and the black and red face off against each other for a year,
Wow.
right? And it was finally happening this night for the belt.
Yeah.
And
So
so there was a lot of help. Goldberg ends up going to jail at one point because Miss Elizabeth said he SA'd her.
mhm.
You know,
Oh.
Yeah. So what ends up happening? They're about to like kind of get into grappling modes.
Mhm.
But then Hulk Hogan just pulls out like either one or two fingers and he pokes Nash's chest and Nash falls and it's 1, 2, 3 and the NWO is one big happy
yeah,
biker
reunited.
gang together.
Yeah,
I thought you
and
guys
then
were gonna say
Goldberg.
something like somebody got poked in the eye. There was
No,
like an
not this time.
injury.
No,
I
it
thought it was
was
like
it was
some painful incident.
No. Nope.
I mean, it might have
Okay.
been. It knocked Kevin Nash on his butt. That's for
Yeah.
So
sure.
he pokes him in the chest. He goes
Yep.
down. That's the
And
count.
and
Yeah.
then Gold,
Wow.
who's like the top face of the company, ends up making it back from jail, rushes the ring, but gets totally annihilated by like 12 dudes. They spray paint on him, embarrass him, and it was just That's not what people wanted to see. And not only that, it was the same night as the butts in seats incident.
What is butts and seats? Now I'm curious.
So Nitro was live, and every other Raw was taped.
Yeah.
Right. But every other one was live. Right. And so on the taped ones, Bischoff thought it was a good idea to have Tony Schiavone announce the results to Raw on air so that people didn't have to turn the channel. Right. And,
Right.
Tony Schiavone's like, oh, what a waste. You don't want to see that. And he was like, Mick Foley becomes champion? That'll put a lot of butts in seats.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was a lot of WCW viewers knew who Mick Foley was because he was Cactus Jack in WCW.
Oh, yeah.
And it was his first major title. So they were like, I want to see that, and turn the channel.
For sure. Wow, that is crazy. Wow.
Shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it was bad.
All right.
I'm glad that you talk about that. So we're talking 1999, and like you said,
big year in wrestling. Lots of money.
WCW was pretty much rocking it back in 1996, 1997. So now the WW,
they started to taper down in 98.
Yeah,
and come this January 4th, I think it was January 4th was the finger poker day, 1999.
Yeah, they start getting more people onto the WWE roster, and it's becoming bloated.
Wow.
Yeah, and that SmackDown ended up coming out later in the year so that they could have more, room for more people.
So what do you guys think about the tagline? I mean, could you think
the
of any
Raging Climax? What do you think?
What are alternatives?
This is Attitude Era for you.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just wondering whose Raging Climax it is. Is it Vince's?
Oh,
one of the Vinces.
Yeah. I recall, who was it? Bret Hart saying that wrestling is no longer for the children. So I guess this is in theme with that. So you guys heard Classy Freddie Glassy?
Yeah, Classy Freddie Blassie. They do. They did a lot of one of these black and white type of montages, commercials, things like that, where they're kind of paying their respects to the talent of old to push the talent of new.
So we're doing that in 2023, right? Because you were telling me about that one wrestler.
Which one?
That's doing black and white.
Oh, Tony Storm. Tony Storm is doing something else completely different, though. She's lost her mind, quote unquote, and is channeling a starlet back in the 1930s and 40s.
Oh. So were you guys excited about this first match?
I wasn't excited, but I was like, I remember how hot Al Snow was.
Yeah, that's what I was definitely rooting for, was Al Snow.
Yeah, he comes out and I'm like, oh my God, I remember how much I love the whole, his music comes out, it's like the drums and everything, and you're like, what does everybody want? And then everyone's like, head, what does everybody need? So that was kind of over. And then so it's a 3-way match with hardcore Holly and the badass Billy Gunn. Yeah. This match goes for 7 minutes and 6 seconds. Are you with me and Nate and also cheering for Al Snow?
Yeah, this is a rough one. Don't ask me who I'm rooting for, because I'm rooting for all 3 of them, if that's possible. But also leaning more towards Al Snow. I mean, he was pretty cool, pretty awesome, and I really enjoyed seeing him wrestle out of all 3 of these guys.
So this was the first title defense for the hardcore championship after it's being introduced. Is ECW is done now, right? Or is it?
No, they're still going on. As I recall, I'm doing this from memory.
Yeah, me too.
For all my fact checkers out there, I might not, get straight. As I recall, Mankind was the corporate pick to be the champion,
right?
Months and months prior, and in order to get him in there, once The Rock turned towards the corporate, was no longer the people's champion, it was now the corporate champion. In order to make it up to Mankind, Vince McMahon presented him with the hardcore belt.
Right, because he wanted him in his back pocket.
Right.
Story-wise.
Right. And it didn't really go that way, because for the next several months, The Rock and Mankind traded the World Heavyweight Championship back and forth. And from Mick Foley's storytelling sense, he knew that it was going to be The Rock and Stone Cold at
WrestleMania.
at Mania,
Yeah,
and
I heard
that was the right choice. And he
Oh
was
yeah.
just setting that up at the
hmm
same time. That's how he felt he was doing. So anytime he had the belt, he knew it was just a trade back and forth, but he was still damn happy he had it.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get trusted, even if it's like, I think even if you're knowing in advance that you're gonna be a transitional champion, as long as it's
Mhm.
not like I'm gonna lose in the next hour or the next day, you should
Like
be
the
proud of that.
24/7 belt.
Yeah.
Although the hardcore belt was like that for a little bit. And honestly, during this Vince Russo era, that all the titles changed hands pretty quickly.
Wow.
There were a lot of title changes back and forth, especially on Monday nights.
Keep people. Do you think it was to keep people motivated to watch,
Right.
or
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
everybody
because
engaged?
everyone
Exactly.
like you'll never know what's gonna happen, and that's why it made it like appointment TV if you were a wrestling fan. You needed to
Yeah.
see, even though WCW is trying to give away what's happening, you still wanted to see
Yeah.
the things happen because you can
Yeah.
still read it, but the way someone types it is different than the way you may see it or the way your brain processes it uh, for you emotionally if you're invested in that character.
Wow. Um, right off the back, this is one of my favorite matches of this WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they get into it pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
and we see Holly. He suplex Snow,
Mm-hmm.
and we see Snow go underneath the mat to find some weapons.
Yeah, underneath the ring, he lifts up the apron, which is funny because now you see that Sunday Night Heat is having those 0 hour or the kickoff matches.
Right.
So they
Mhm.
had the apron underneath, say, Sunday Night Heat when he's looking for the things when he's peeling it back. And
What do we? I feel like we saw a little bit of everything. We saw like a stick. We saw Snapples.
yeah, we saw someone the drink carrier, and he threw that whole drink carrier at Hardcore Holly.
Yeah, I mean the crowd was loving it. I really love this match. What do you guys think about the match?
Yeah, I don't remember this. This is when I was kind of not having access to pay-per-views as much because I was coming back from my tour in Korea. So I don't
There's
remember where I
another
was.
reason too. If you were like me and most of the people, the build up for the main event for this was just so epic. I mean, you had two of the best trash talkers in the company,
Yeah.
Right.
week to week, just going at each other and saying some of the funniest, best stuff that could happen. And so, really, every match on the card, as I recall watching it live back then, it was just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
get
what
to
they
the
have to
next
add
one.
to fill in time, but Austin Rock is what we want to see.
You're waiting for
Yeah.
the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's how I felt at the time.
No, so you're
In the
saying that this kind of felt like boxing, like normally, like when you had like those big mega fights and they'll throw in like 6, 7 matches just to get someone paid, and then the match isn't coming on until like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and
but
you're like,
it's a
please.
little bit different because you had these storylines too. But like this was like I was mentioning earlier, this was like kind of I don't remember if they started doing this in WrestleMania 14, but this might be the first WrestleMania where it wasn't a payoff to the angles and storylines. Like they even started new ones in a later match. It was like they were starting a new storyline at
hmm
WrestleMania,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and so it was different. Yeah, so it's yeah, unlike boxing where you got these rivalries and even on the undercard, you still want to see the action.
Right.
The storylines weren't really. I mean, they were playing up more so you wanted to see what was continuing in the stories, and that's mainly why most people kept getting pay-per-views at the time. Other than that, you could
Yeah.
just catch up on Monday nights for the
Yeah,
most part
because
for
that's
a
where they kept the
good few
storylines
years here.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, for a good few years here, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
I mean, as far as like a hardcore match, like I don't remember watching this, but the match doesn't go long. That's primarily what you want for a hardcore match. And they pretty
that's
much
definitely what
brought
they want
yeah.
because
And
that's rough.
let's
Well,
the
I'm wondering because this is a rewatch. I would recommend watching
yeah,
this.
me
I thought it was
too.
pretty
I would
awesome.
too.
I enjoyed seeing all these wrestlers wrestle. So would you tell everybody that's listening or watching to revisit match 1?
Yeah, definitely rewatch match 1. It kind of like gets you back up and you're like, oh my God, I got to watch this. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Gets you those
Yeah,
member berries.
I'd definitely say rewatch. I'd say rewatch all of them only because, like, for example, I was so enamored by the main event at the time that I didn't really watch what everybody else was doing, and that's not right. That, I mean, these guys put on great matches,
Right.
and this first one in particular, like I said, I mean, Al Snow, Bob Holly, incredible workers. Billy Gunn, he's still wrestling.
He
He's like
is still
61.
wrestling.
He's
Yeah.
still wrestling. So I mean,
Yeah.
all these guys are like great workers, so they're definitely worth your time.
And
Definitely.
awesome back then. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite matches. Enjoyed seeing them wrestle. Loved all of it. Yep.
So then we move on to match number 2, the tag team champions of Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett, who are being escorted to the ring by Deborah, versus the winners, kind of, quote unquote, because like even they explained it and it still didn't make sense how D'Lo
Yeah,
Brown and Test, who
strange bedfellows.
are challenging
This
for the
was
tag team
a random
titles,
match.
and they're accompanied by Ivory, or D'Lo is accompanied by Ivory.
Right.
Yeah, not Test. D'Lo's a coach.
Yeah. So we got this match going for 3 minutes and 58 seconds.
Kind of short.
Yeah, so this leads us to some bad news Barretts, because this would be Owen Hart's official last WrestleMania match. So unfortunately, he has a tragic end in about another month and a half at a pay-per-view. So knowing that, Maria, go ahead.
I was going to say a side note for Carlos. Where were you, and what were you doing, and how did you find out when Owen Hart died?
I was watching it. I watched it. I was watching it live on base. I was stationed in Fort Riley, so I had actually ordered it, and I watched it happen. And I'm like, I didn't know it was him because he came in that blue blazer costume, and then that's you see he's coming down, and then it starts getting faster and faster, and then I think he kind of bounced a little bit. I don't remember, like, because he had the cape on, from what I remember.
Yeah,
And then go ahead.
I was. This is totally 90s thing. I was watching it scrambled.
Oh,
wow.
Because I couldn't afford it at the time, but I was cleaning my room, and I could hear what was going on in the match. I was listening to the announcers, and I just remember it going silent.
Wow.
And I'm like, did something break, right? And you could kind of see in the scrambling that the cameras just went to the audience.
Right.
And they announced pretty quickly that, Owen Hart had passed away.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, craziness. But anyway, that was a tangent, but rest in peace, Owen.
That's a sad tangent, but yes, please.
Yeah.
Let's try to
so at this match in 3 minutes and 58 seconds, it's a short match. Like you said, do you think it was kind of like an odd match or an odd pairing?
Yeah, I think this was meant to like kill time. But I guess the chemistry wasn't there, and they just called it, because you have Owen and Jeff, who are, I believe they were, if I was watching this correctly, they were the heels facing facing a tag team that had kind of a face in D'Lo and another heel, because Tess is with the corporation.
Right.
So, and they haven't had enough time to build that tag team chemistry, D'Lo and Tess. So you can't be like they're the strange odd couple that's gonna actually make it happen, because like it doesn't make any sense to me booking wise to have D'Lo and Tess actually get over Owen and Jeff Jarrett. What do you think, Nate?
I mean, it honestly seems like somebody in booking owed those guys money or something, because they just found a way to throw them on the bill. Because you could have definitely had another tag team that was, more put together, so to speak, to go for the titles as well. But yeah, something's going on. And it might have also been more about the angle with Ivory and PMS and
Mm-hmm.
debuting that or showcasing that
Mhm.
As well. But again, we're talking about Vince Russo here, man. I am not a Vince Russo hater,
Right.
bro, nor am I a Vince Russo apologist, bro. In fact, I like to play that game where you have to drink every time he says bro in an
That's a
interview.
good one.
I get hammered. but you know, he had some he had some good things going on. He did, but he had some really bad ones. One of which is the next match, which we'll get to, and everything
So,
around that.
are you saying you recommend this match, or you have more thoughts on this
I
match?
thought it was an okay match. We see some solid moves by D'Lo. He's
Mhm.
tagged in. We see power slam. He drop kicks hard.
Mhm.
We see him wrestling with Jarrett. I thought it was fine. Is it a revisit for me? I would say no. I think the chemistry was off for this match. So
Yeah, and I really agree that same sentiment that it seems like what Nate's saying. That seems like pretty much they wanted to focus on the PMS storyline, the Pretty Mean Sisters, with Terry Reynolds and Jacqueline
thank you for breaking that down.
attacking Ivory
Yeah, I didn't know
earlier.
what it meant.
Yeah, which is funny because I think eventually Ivory ends up joining PMS too. So
Something. Ivory
uh,
was the most seasoned out of all of them. She was in
Yeah.
Glow.
I was kind of
Yeah.
curious that I don't know. I didn't get much out of seeing them as were they considered ballets. So
well, yeah, they were kind of Jacqueline came in as the wrestler, as a woman's stable like competitor.
okay.
Terry came in with Goldust as his valet, and Ivory, I believe, also came in as like an actual performer wrestler.
Yeah.
So, but she's being shoehorned in here as a valet. So,
Right. I mean, I was listening to myself say this. So if anybody here listening or watching hears me say, I mean, you can also probably get pretty drunk off of counting those as well. We see D'Lo allow Jarrett to roll onto him, sit on him, secure a pin,
right,
and win. What do you think about the win?
I mean, that's the best way to get it done. They're a tag team, so the ref is distracted because of the outside action that's happening,
Right.
and Test isn't really gonna help D'Lo. So they got the tag team. They can't take the belts of them. That's the only thing that might have probably made this maybe more of like a schmaz would have been like if they had Jeff Jarrett hit somebody with the guitar and like it's over in like 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and that was his thing.
That's a pass. This is a pass for me.
Mhm.
Wouldn't recommend that you rewatch it. I know, Nate, you said that would it be considered a rewatch for you or skip it?
For this one, just for the memory of Owen Hart, I would say, if you're doing rewatching of Owen Hart stuff, it's a definite for that because it's his last WrestleMania.
To watch
But
his work.
yeah, and just to see where he was at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for that reason, yeah. But other than that, if you take that out of the equation, the roll up pin, all of that, yeah, it's just
Yeah,
didn't really go
okay.
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carlos, what do you think?
Yeah, I think skip it. I mean, I hate to say that for an Owen match, but I know it just sadly happened because it's like it doesn't do anything for Owen. Like, and he's been kind of like toiling and like barely above water, treading water ever since Brett left
Yeah.
or that because I pretty much believe that Vince put him in the doghouse for just having the heart connection, the genetic material in him.
Oh no, Vince was definitely doghousing people at this era. I mean, Triple H was just Triple H was just getting out of the doghouse. And I think going into the next match, we got a doghouse match.
Yeah, so the next match, which is in a traditional wrestling match, it's a boxing match of
second one.
the second one ever at a WrestleMania.
Kind of, and the other one was at WrestleMania 2, which I
Yeah,
was also there for.
coincidentally, right?
I don't want
So
to
we
become
have
boxing
Butterbean of MMA and boxing fame versus
Bart.
Bart Gunn. Believe they call him the Hammer.
Yeah.
I hope Greg Valentine got that moniker back from him. So,
Brawl for all match, clocking in at
So
35 seconds.
mhm,
the Brawl for All is the pinnacle of bad Vince Russo ideas.
Mm.
Basically, it started, they were bringing in Dr. Death Steve Williams, right?
mhm,
And he was a known guy, but they want to say how tough he really was and how big guy. So they had this series of real fights, but what nobody knew is that Bart Gunn had a pretty mean left hook, right? And
Yeah.
he ended up winning on Raw.
the
And what I
tournament.
think, and not being able to get Dr. Death over is the way they wanted. So I think this was pretty much punishment to Bart Gunn for that, for winning the Brawl for All. Right?
Yeah, he ruined the way Vince had perceived that Vince Russo. So he's like, well, who can we get to him to beat? Oh, okay, let's get this professional MMA, former MMA and boxer in on this Butterbean.
So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, going into this very short tussle, who were you rooting for? Who did you think was gonna win?
Oh, I knew Butterbean.
Yeah, Butterbean.
You knew it was gonna
I
be
mean,
Butterbean?
Yeah, we
that
had
guy has
seen
been
him.
actually fighting for a long time,
Okay.
right? Like, I mean, like a decade or so. And Bart Gunn, trained a little bit to fight like
He
performers.
didn't. Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised. He wrecked him.
Oh,
I mean,
he destroyed him.
he said he was dizzy like
Oh,
4
yeah.
days after that.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
concussed. He knocked them out.
This was one of 2 murders of the night.
Out on his feet both times. And we have a
Yeah.
comment here from one of our viewers on our Facebook live stream from Paul Hart. The Dark Side of the Ring Brawl for All episode is a must see.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All the Dark Side of
Yeah.
the Rings are worth the
Yeah.
watch.
She actually started watching. She watched first 2 episodes of season 1. And also from Paul, the best part of this is we got to see Gorilla Monsoon again.
I'll
And
agree.
Paul, you're right, because the crowd went wild.
Oh yeah,
They were
I was
excited
happy.
to see Gorilla.
That guy was one of 2 voices of my entire childhood. Him and Bobby
Yeah.
Heenan, watching primetime wrestling on USA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Gorilla Monsoon is,
Yeah, and this is when you can see that I think he had cancer, no, or
Oh,
something like that,
wow.
like lung
I believe so,
cancer.
yeah.
And this is when you see like,
I was excited to see him too.
but yeah,
Yeah, I was happy to see him. The crowd was definitely revved to see him.
Mhm.
So
I don't
So-
think it was intentional. They spent more time introducing Gorilla Monsoon than the entire match was.
that's a good call, 'cause
that's the way sometimes it happens.
I was really shocked. I'm like, I haven't seen either of those 2 gentlemen fight before, but I was just really shocked to see him get rocked like that. I was like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
shit.
Butterbean knew it was over once he gave him like, I think it was like a straight left or like a hooking left, and it caught Bart, and then he kind of stumbled the first time, and then he just went at him because he knew he wasn't going to be able to
It was
protect
2
himself.
punches after that. It was a 1-2
Yeah.
after that.
And then
Gunn's
he
out.
goes down, and then he gets back up, and Vinny Pazienza asks him if he's okay, and it kind of looks like he actually questions it, like, I am okay?
Are you okay?
Am I? Should I be here? How much am I getting
Yeah.
paid?
And then boom, he goes back down again. I think that is like, if he wasn't like knocked unconscious the first combination he got, he was knocked out for sure on that last one.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I heard that this was career ending for him. Did y'all hear that too?
For Bart?
No, in further punishment of Bart Gunn, they cut him loose just like a month or 2 after that. So they just let him go anyway.
Adding to the pain,
Yeah,
adding salt to the wound.
Yeah, they let him get his ass beat for real at WrestleMania, and then like a month or 2 later, just fired him.
Wow.
So, but I really don't recommend that you watch this unless you want to see someone get knocked the fuck out.
I recommend that you watch this because That it's I don't want to say it's shocking. Yeah, it's shocking. I'm like, oh shit, that happened. I had to rewatch it a few times because
Yeah, she couldn't believe. She's like, "What happened? I missed it."
yeah,
And she like rewind it, and then like bam, bam,
You
boom.
blinked, didn't you?
Yeah.
I saw him get wrecked. I'm like, oh, that just happened. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
So,
oof,
moving on to the fourth match,
yes,
we have Mankind
one of my favorites.
versus Paul White, the Big Show, making his WrestleMania debut. And this is what me and Nate were referring to, that talent from WCW are starting to leave. And this is one of the big signings
Oh,
that
Pun intended.
that I didn't even think about it. Thank you. But that Vince had gotten away from WCW because Vince loves the big men. He loves the giants. I need to have more giants.
the Big Show is looking like a medium show though. He was looking a little slimmer than I remember him.
Yeah, and that's because they wanted to really push him, and Vince did not like him being like big and overweight. He
Mhm.
wanted it to be a very big and imposing giant.
Right.
So he went on this strict regimen here.
So I'm rooting for Mankind. I'm just kind of curious. What are your thoughts on this match?
Well, our Twitch, which we actually started streaming on Twitch, we have a viewer, Semi Dry Chicken. Hello there. Well, it's the Big Show. Yes, thank you very much for joining us here. It
He didn't
was
have
the
that
Big
theme
Show.
song yet, though. He came out to
No,
McMahon's theme song.
the who's?
He came out to
Mr.
McMahon's theme song.
McMahon's, because he was a
Yeah.
corporate. He was a corporate
Yeah.
stable guy.
Is that what it
He was a
was?
shill.
Yeah, he was the Big Shill. It's the Big Shill.
Yeah.
It's the big shill tonight.
This whole match was just more set up for the main event. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
main event didn't really need more drama,
Yeah,
but
and this is going to be for the special guest referee spot for the main event.
Yeah, I thought this
Uh,
match was just okay. What did you guys?
it,
I mean, you're
it
basically
goes
saying
before that. Like I said, this is more story than anything else.
Yeah, this is just like an add-on to build. It's going to build more
Well,
towards the main event.
so The Rock and Mankind were
Mhm.
trading the titles back and forth.
right.
Stone Cold's going to enter the Royal Rumble to win the Royal Rumble to get the spot at WrestleMania to win the belt, but Vince
Mhm.
McMahon says no chance in hell. You know how he always does, and he works it so that Stone Cold is number one, but I believe it was Shawn Michaels stepped in and made sure that Vince was number two.
Oh
So
yeah.
Stone
Yeah.
Cold and Vince were number one and two. And come the end of it, Vince McMahon wins the Royal Rumble and has the spot
Wow.
and for WrestleMania. But he says, I turned down my spot. The Rock is my champion. And that's when Shawn Michaels comes up and says, well, if you relinquish your opportunity, that means it goes to the runner-up. So Stone Cold gets the spot. Of course, they
Mhm.
revealed that on Monday Night
Night
Raw instead
Raw.
of pay-per-view. Yeah. Right.
You gotta
And
have the reason for the people to tune in.
Wow.
so now Stone McMahon wants more reasons to make sure Vince doesn't get Stone Cold
Stone
doesn't
Cold.
get the spot.
Mhm.
So Stone Cold tells him, he was like, look, okay, I will give up my spot if you wrestle me at St. Valentine's Massacre, the February pay-per-view, in a
Right.
steel cage, just me and you. And if you can beat me, then I'll give up my spot. So they have this actually pretty good steel cage match
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
Valentine's Day, about St. Valentine's Massacre. At which point, Big Show makes his debut coming through the ring, grabs Austin by the neck and throws him at the cage wall, but
Yeah.
knocks him through the cage where Stone Cold hits the floor. So therefore, Stone Cold wins.
Was this the blue steel still?
No, it's
Remember?
black steel.
Was it
It was
black?
the same.
Okay.
It was the same grid, but
Yeah,
black.
it's the same grid. I remember it being the same grid, but I couldn't remember if it was still blue or black. But yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And
Yeah, so
so
that's how the Big Show made his debut.
Wow.
yeah,
But I feel like I have to watch that. That's
and
pretty.
yeah, like I said, the build up and this is going to be the case probably for your next three manias. Like what happens up till then really sets the tone and is it makes the whole thing just more in what's the word I'm looking for, focus, you
Right.
know. But yeah, but also, the trading back and forth with Rod America. They had an empty arena match at one point
Yeah,
Mhm.
during the Super Bowl,
that was a
halftime
fun one. I
Super
remember
Bowl.
watching that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. They had the I Quit match where Mankind didn't quit, but they played his voice over the loudspeaker when he held the microphone to him. Yeah, pretty good storytelling up until then.
Yeah.
But
Wow, that sounds
again,
awesome.
and this leads into, because then Mankind's trying to get the referee spot, but Vince, of course, wants to make it
Yeah, he's
the
trying to
Big
stack
Show
the deck
to screw Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of how the match went? Because unfortunately, actually, it is fortunately, because Mankind does end up winning here.
Right.
And
then he is a special guest referee in the main event, which I was
right,
excited to see.
he wins that spot, but it's not anything that he gets to celebrate for very long, because then the Big Show ends up taking out his frustrations on Mankind, and he ends up sending him to the hospital.
And then Vince comes out upset that that the Big Show was able to let Mankind win and be the guest referee, and he ends up smacking him. And in which case, we get to see WrestleMania's first WMD, and Big Show knocks him out. And it's also the Big Show's first heel turn, which he will then turn again every week for the rest of his career.
So I think that a little bit of I did enjoy this match, but it's not like a recommended match here, because this is more of a feud or storyline that's like building more towards the main event. It has nothing to do with something that Mankind or Big Show, were actually doing before this.
Right.
But I like that Mick Foley, Mankind, is over here like being the aggressor, and even though he's like way shorter than him, he's still trying to get the mandible claw into those jowls of the Big Show. I appreciated that, don't die attitude by Mick.
Yeah, I guess I expected more after watching that dumpster match with Mick. But like you said, this was a little bit of filler before the main event.
Yeah,
because everyone was so excited to see them. So I thought this match was okay. Wasn't a rewatch for me. And I guess with that takes us to match.
Well, we didn't see if Nate wanted to rewatch.
Sorry, Nate.
Do you have anything else?
Okay.
Thoughts?
Do you think?
If you're watching the show, it adds more to the main event. So I mean, I would say, if you're going to end up watching the first WrestleMania match of Stone Cold and The Rock, then I mean, this is kind of something you'd have to tag into there, just because it adds to it.
Are you saying this is the Rogue One of A New Hope?
The prequel.
Yeah, the prequel to the
more like the pre-show, or the rage party, so to speak.
Rage party.
Oh, that Vince, he's like, we're gonna have a rage party.
When in Rome.
I guess I never considered having a rage party with Isaac Hayes.
Yeah. You're having the wrong kind of rage party.
Right?
I forgot about that.
So the next match we have here is it's a 4-way, but they call it a 4 corners match.
Yeah, if you didn't know, you better call somebody.
Yeah, you got the Road Dogg as the Intercontinental Champion versus making his WrestleMania debut, Val Venus, versus Ken Shamrock versus Goldust, accompanied by the Blue Meanie and Ryan Shamrock. Just so you know, it's not Ken Shamrock's real sister.
Oh, okay.
So, but she was booked that way.
Not like the Undertaker and Kane being real brothers.
Yeah, just like that. They are not real brothers. Yeah, and thank you for adding that semi drink. Picking for Val Venus. Hello, ladies.
Oh yeah, I was just like, wow. I was like, oh, the 90s.
Yeah, late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah. So what do you think about this 4-corner Intercontinental Championship that went 9 minutes and 47 seconds?
Well, I'm rooting for the Gold Dog. I'm rooting
Dog.
I'm rooting for the Road Dogg, and I'm rooting for Goldust.
I think you mean the Road Do.
Oh yeah, and his pants, it said do instead of dog.
He was missing those hooks underneath for the G's there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching them wrestle.
This was a fun match.
Yeah.
I think my wife, when we were watching it, had a great appreciation for Goldust on this one. He did some great work.
I did. Sometimes I'm like, okay, but I was out of those two, I was really rooting for Goldust. I think he has a little bit more wrestling finesse out of the both of them. So I really enjoyed watching this
Out of
match.
the final two that we get, because Ken Shamrock and Val Venus get counted out.
And don't get me wrong, ladies, gentlemen, definitely worth rewatching this.
Okay, this is one of your recommended matches.
Rewatch this match for so many reasons besides wrestling finesse. I was definitely distracted, but definitely a fan of Road Dogg and Goldust. So, what do you guys think?
I was surprised. I was like, I forgot that they had broken up the New Age Outlaws to have them pursue singles careers. So I was like, oh, he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was the Hardcore Champion. I was like, did he get the European Championship too?
I don't think so. I think that was traded between X-Pac.
Yeah, I know X-Pac, and that's the feud that we get later on in this card. But yeah, it was fun.
I'm not. He might have had it later.
Maybe.
I don't recall. He was injured for a little while too.
Yeah, that's why I think we had to relinquish the. I think he had the Hardcore title that Billy Gunn ended up winning because he couldn't win the Intercontinental one. So, some good spots here from what I seen during this match. I like the only thing I haven't seen in these WrestleMania ones, rewatching particularly where Goldust is wrestling, is his Shattered Dreams move.
Which one is that one?
What he does is he puts someone in the corner, and then he lifts up their legs over the middle turnbuckle, and then he just proceeds to kick them in the nether regions.
And their junk.
Yeah. And it's I
like that term, as opposed to the regular junk. It's the
it's in the man junk. He kicks him in the man junk. And so that's like I know that's his moveset, and I'm like, why haven't I ever gotten this move in a Goldust match? And he also has that like on his unitard or whatever, his ring gear. It says Shattered Dreams in the back.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, how do we go? So
yeah. I mean, this match was kind of a skip for me.
Was it a skip for you?
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
The Ryan Shamrock thing. I mean, I like the Road Dogg. Don't get me wrong. Fun fact: Jeff Jarrett's original theme song, Road Dogg sang it, so the man can sing too.
Right.
I don't know if you had previously talked about that on a previous episode.
And rap.
So I apologize.
No.
Yeah, he rapped.
Yeah. He didn't do actually, no. I guess he is singing for his own theme song because he's doing it live the whole time.
Yeah, awesome. He's freestyling, even though it's the same like 4 lines, but he's freestyling it. We got another comment here. The move, Semi-Dry Chickens, that Shattered Dreams is a move that his brother Cody should never adopt. I think he should if he finally decides to turn heel. I'm anti this babyface American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. You can't be called the American Nightmare and still be a babyface. That's just my heel.
As for adopting the Shattered Dreams, I think he's trying to stay as far away from Stardust as possible.
Yeah.
So I could see him not adopting.
He adopted that one move where Goldust would fall on his back and then slap people in the face.
So Cody Rhodes is Stardust and he's Goldust?
Yeah, that was a terrible. I don't know who suggested that particular tag team to them, but I mean, Cody
played it well.
Work. Yeah.
He hated it, but he played it well.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did it and he wrote out his contract and he's like, I got to find something that works for me.
I don't think I've seen him wrestle yet, have I? Or
you have.
I have. Oh, yeah, I think I've commented about it, but like later wrestling, right?
Well,
like seeing them both wrestle
together?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you have.
No.
So, Moving on here. So, do you recommend this match, Maria?
I
From all the things that
do.
you saw, you do
Yeah, I
recommend
know
this
you guys
match.
said that you don't recommend it. I definitely do recommend that you revisit this one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good. Like I said, Road Dogg.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm a fan of everyone that's wrestling in this match.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I'm a fan of Road Dogg and definitely a fan this time of Gold Dust.
Okay.
So watch it.
Watch it for the work of Goldust and the lyrical stylings of the Road Dogg.
Or Road Do.
Or the Road Do.
I don't know what was happening with his pants that day.
He grabbed the wrong set. It wasn't finished by the wardrobe. And Nate says, skip it. So going with that one, we skip to another one. The next match we have on this card is Kane.
Yes.
Versus Triple H.
His valet.
Yeah, he's missing his valet. No more China. So this match goes 11 minutes and 33 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maria, Kane, Triple H. I know you barely saw Kane. Was it last? Yeah, the last WrestleMania.
And Pete
14.
Rose.
And Pete Rose.
We also get an opportunity to see Kane Tombstone, the San Diego mascot.
Yeah, the San Diego chicken who ends up having Pete Rose inside of him.
That is so weird the way you said it.
It is. Because it's technically the costume of the San Diego chicken, but Pete Rose is inside of him.
I know, but still. Okay.
Well, Pete Rose is he's got a great WWE history. He got inducted to the Hall of Fame the same year as Bobby Heenan. And I remember Bobby Heenan, he made the comment as he's getting his induction speech. He says, and all these people in this club, Pete Rose is here. I got a confession to make. I've gambled on professional wrestling while he's going into the Hall of Fame.
That's a good one.
It's just really funny.
That is.
Bobby Heenan.
Well, I'm rooting for Kane.
You're rooting for Kane, the big red machine.
I am.
Over Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yes, I am. This man landed on his feet when Triple H tossed him out of the ring. He was just like hop, and then he lands on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was barely a fall for him. And he's 6'4". Triple H is 6'4", yes. And Kane is 7 feet tall. So the difference was.
Yeah, I mean, Kane does some great work here for someone, even though he has been wrestling for a while under other ring names and characters. This was his best gimmick, as he portrays his gimmick for.
You know, like Dr. Isaac Yankem?
I know.
Terrible.
I seen like the screenshots and never actually got to see him wrestle.
What about Diesel? He was Diesel.
Yeah, Diesel.
He was the fake Diesel. Yeah.
I was gonna say I remember that other Diesel with his long locks. So
yeah, you
that's
remember
Kevin Nash.
Yeah, you remember Kevin Nash.
By this time, he's over at WCW, right?
Yeah, yes. He's the guy that took the finger poke of doom that we were talking about earlier.
Finger poke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Diesel.
That is so crazy. So
yeah, what else did you like about this match? Let me know. Let us know why you are a fan of Kane. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Kane, Mr. Glenn Thomas Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that he has been a mayor in Knox County, Tennessee, since 2018.
2018? I thought it was like 2020, but okay. I mean, you saw this at Wikipedia, so I'm not going to question it.
2018, and I think one of his last matches was in 2019. So I could be wrong. I really have to look that up. But I was just like, oh, so you're mayor, but you're also like wrapping up with these matches around the same time, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I think his last match, maybe they're talking about like in a WWE, like a Raw or something like that, because he has another match in one of those Saudi Arabia shows, one of the Crown Jewels, because that's when they bring back Undertaker and HBK,
right,
to fight one more match, because the royal family is very pushy on who they want.
Okay.
And since they never got to see some of these people, which in my head, if you're royal Saudi money, wouldn't you have already been flying to these WrestleMania events? But they had a very long list of who they wanted to see. I'm not going to name some of them because some of them are pretty ridiculous of who they actually named that they wanted to see.
Well, now I want to hear. I'm so curious.
Well, one of them was Yokozuna.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how they
All
were
the
excited
punch.
to get this collaboration and get this deal done with Vince to bring people over. But yeah, that's so they're like, well, we want to see uh Shawn Michaels come back out of retirement and the Undertaker. And so they had a thing where it was the Brothers of Destruction, quote unquote, Undertaker and Kane
Mm-hmm.
versus the members of the Generation X,
Right.
Triple H, and his homeboy, Shawn Michaels, HBK.
Mm. Also, before we start talking about this match,
Mm-hmm.
fun fact is that Kane was born in Spain.
In España.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So, what did you all think? I don't know if you have any opinions watching at your age back then, watching China wrestle or seeing
well,
her in the ring because she wasn't wrestling.
well, by this time we've already seen her in the ring. She actually entered. I think she entered the Royal Rumble.
Hmm.
The previous or this previous January, this year of
Yeah, like 2 months
1999.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I believe, did she win the Intercontinental yet, or is that
Not
later?
yet.
Okay.
That's later. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
she
she
does
was
win the.
trading back and forth with Jericho and
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, who aren't in the company yet.
Wow.
So, I mean, we were used to seeing China like get involved and everything like that, not only with the matches, but also trying to find her own niche inside of WWE ring as a competitor.
Right. I heard that she was also wrestling before, that she'd wrestle with the men. So, was she doing mixed matches?
No, they weren't mixed matches. The majority of the time, she would be one on one. It would just be her versus the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Nate mentioned, she has a little bit of a run with Chris Jericho. She faced, I don't remember who else she faced, but she does have like matches one on one, not mixed tag matches where they have to stay man versus man, woman versus woman.
Yeah, that kind of just to get on a little bit of a soapbox pissed me off that she was walking around in stilettos because I'm like, the girl can wrestle.
Also, she's already getting cosmetically enhanced.
Yeah, so
So,
I
mhm.
sad to see that. But what do you all think about this match?
Well, one thing before we get into it, as one of our commenters, Andre Chicken God, that was a sad match because I think Triple H, HBK, and Kane's last match. Yes,
Mm.
and that match is taking place in 2018. So that was a little bit earlier than I think you said Kane's last match was in 2020 or
2019.
2019. So that was a little bit earlier, but uh, let's get into it here. So we see Hunter, Triple H, he's coming in, and it's it was still the DX music, even though he wasn't technically in DX, or he was, because everyone's alluding to that they're all shattered or like broken up everywhere, but they're still coming out to DX music.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what was going on. There was a lull there, but then everybody formed back together without Shawn Michaels, of course,
Yeah,
with Triple H at the helm.
yeah, that was right
Um,
after
and
the Monday after.
yeah, that's the next Monday after this. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I think he was still rocking it. Like he didn't get his own theme music
Until
for a
after this,
while.
after he
Yeah.
after this turn here, because we do get a turn here. What did you think about Hunter coming out victorious on this match against Kane? I know you were rooting for Kane.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. I think Kane should have won.
Okay. What are your reasonings why, besides Kane is the baby face and you don't like Hunter?
Well, I think Kane was doing really well during the match. I liked the way that he was wrestling. So when Triple H won, I kind of knew going in that he was going to win, but just seeing
Mm-hmm.
him win, I wished it would have been Kane. So,
Mm-hmm.
what about you guys?
Just like think what me and Nate have been echoing here. We just keep moving along and trying to get to the main event.
Right.
Because this match,
So this wasn't a revisit for
there
you,
wasn't a
then?
revisit for me
I
and
wouldn't
Nate.
say that because looking back at this in hindsight, like knowing the main event, not waiting to see it,
Right.
it's different. It's a different feel, and I thought there were some really good spots in this match. I thought both guys pulled it out. At the time, I was really not a Triple H fan. I was still thinking of him as the blue blood because
The Connecticut.
even if they're all the DX stuff,
What's
I
his
missed a
finishing
lot of
move
that
again?
era.
I can't think. Is his finishing move still
Pedigree,
the pedigree?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept thinking it was the pompous dude at the
Yeah.
whatever. I also
People don't
didn't like
forget.
I also didn't like his segments, like the way he talked. I just thought he was boring. And so I was definitely
You didn't
rooting for
like
Kane.
him talking like this.
Yeah, yeah, right.
The Rock makes fun of him.
Yeah.
And then one of the promos later on about him talking like this. I am the
But
game.
of course, in hindsight, what he did for the careers of guys like The Rock, Triple
Right.
H, Mankind, and
Right.
the feuds he had and what he's done. I mean, no, he's definitely one of the top of all time. But yeah, at the time, I just wasn't feeling Triple H at all.
I'm curious. I mean, I can't imagine that a lot of if you're a Triple H fan, you're listening, you're watching, let us
Yes.
know because I can't say that I'm a huge Triple H fan. Maybe when I was introduced to him, but now that I've been watching his wrestling trajectory, I think he's okay.
Yes, I'm a Triple H fan, and I'm watching and I'm listening.
I
Are
am
you
now. I am now, but at the
Yeah.
time, I wasn't
Are you
thinking like
guys?
that.
It wasn't like how Nate has been explaining his part where he recommended like for you to watch this, even though like I understand where you're coming from, Nate. Like putting ourselves in the mindset of 1999 us. We're like, hurry up, get there, Stone Cold,
Yeah.
get there.
That's where I
But
was then. Yeah.
even rewatching this, like, yeah, it's like Triple H is like getting Kane over. He's selling his, this guy is bigger than me, he's an imposing force. And he's doing like the ring psychology work of it, and that's what Hunter is great at. He's not only great at making himself look good, but also helping others look good when it needs to happen, and also playing along with the audience because he's a great talker when it comes to also getting involved with the audience too. When you have to get back into those like little ringside areas, but as far as this match, it really doesn't do anything for me, especially with the way that this match ends up happening. Like the finish where it's like Kane was with China, or China's with Kane because of what had happened. That Triple H had betrayed her, or no, China had betrayed the Degeneration X stable and aligned herself with the corporation, and Kane is part of the corporation. But even though he's part of the corporation, it doesn't come off as very heelish to me when he's coming out. It's like, yeah, he's a big like imposing force, but it's like with him not. I think this is at the time when he's not talking. He's not cutting his own promos or anything like that.
Triple H?
No,
Or,
Kane.
Oh, Kane.
Kane.
Yeah.
No, he's just standing around being and tilting his head every so often.
So it's like you don't really know. And he didn't have Paul Bearer anymore talking for him as he did the previous year. So it's like the character really doesn't help me like kind of decide like you're with the heel stable, but you're not really, you're going up against Hunter, who's already coming off as kind of heelish because of the antics he's been doing before,
right,
leading up to his road to WrestleMania, where he's kind of like been secretly helping Shane, and how he accidentally helped Shane win the European Championship over X-Pac. So
I mean, at the end we see. Oh, God.
Yeah, I was gonna say at that time though. I mean, I really like Kane mainly because he didn't have a mouthpiece. He didn't talk, and considering everybody else was just so, it was all about what they said and their promos and everything. The fact that this guy came in and wasn't doing that was like a refreshing change of pace. And plus he was kind of like dark. He had that, he had the fire.
Yeah.
gimmick, and you know, I loved all of that stuff. I was like, all right, Kane's
Yeah,
awesome.
another fellow Triple H
we
fan.
have two.
We have three. If you're
Oh, we
counting
have
me.
three. Okay.
You're outnumbered here. So
Uh-oh.
yeah. So do you agree with me? I didn't like the way this finished because it we get the reconciliation of Triple H and China.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that.
So
Also, I don't know if the real life drama with them is happening during this time either. Do you all?
no, the
Not
whole
yet.
No, not
no,
yet. Oh, so that's still
Not yet.
TBD. Okay.
no, that I believe that happens maybe a few more months from now because that's when Stephanie
It
starts getting.
starts, but they don't really start like getting together for a little while after that.
Yeah, so
After
we
they've been
see
touring together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
China hits Kane with a chair.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about putting him in the hot seat. And then, like you said, she reunites with Triple H, and that's the end of the match. And I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, and then just cuts to a vignette of Degeneration X saying that they're back and better than ever, and that they can't wait to see X Pac get his European Championship back.
I was excited to see Big Pun in the audience, so that was pretty cool.
Rest in peace, Big Pun.
Yeah, rest in peace.
The Terror Squad.
Still not a player. One of his like number one hits. So that took me back to the 90s.
And then leads us to our next match. It's talking about the 90s. Sable, the women's champion, versus Tori. This match goes 5 minutes and 6 seconds, and I had to like do a double take because this was not the Tori that I was thinking of, but I knew that this Tori existed. There's another Tori later on called Tori Wilson that ends up popping up, and it threw me off for a little bit because I'm like, no, this is Tori Wilson is still in WCW, so
not Tori Spelling.
No, not Tori Spelling either. So yeah, what did you think, Sable, Tori?
I thought this match was fine. We see Sable grab Tori by the hair, and she tosses her back out of the ring. I thought we see some okay wrestling. It wasn't one of my favorite matches.
No,
I thought it was like a filler match.
And they couldn't even fill that much time. But for the 5 years that we waited to have another women's championship match defended on the WrestleMania card, we only got 5 minutes and 6 seconds of it. And I can see why, because I'm not sure
a minute for every year.
Yeah, right. We can see why, because it doesn't seem like Tori had a lot of like experience going into that ring. You remember seeing Tori anywhere else, or
she was the Sable Stalker?
Yeah, that's about it, right? That's how we knew her.
She came in, yeah. And she at this time though, they were treating women's wrestling like just kind of like a byproduct. They weren't really training.
No, they were just sending you the TNA.
We did see Tori take out one of the referees, which I thought was interesting, and I think the most exciting part of this match,
the accidental ref bump,
is when we see this lady running.
Nicole Bass. I had forgotten about Nicole Bass.
She comes into the ring and does a gorilla press or a military press slam,
right?
To Tori, and that was exciting. I'm like, that was the most exciting part of this match for me.
Yeah, there was a lot of missed spots.
I think the first, but the one that kind of stood out that could have been more dangerous is Tori kind of not taking the first Sable bomb the correct way. It looked like that could have ended like she was supposed to break out and reverse it earlier, and she did it like when she was mid move. So that could have been dangerous for her. Yeah. But other than that, there's really anything else that I would suggest revisiting here, unless you want to see Sable do the grind.
No, I mean, not for me.
Jerry Lawler licking his lips, curving out.
Yeah, they were like really gross during this match. I was like, well, so much for commentary. And I had watched another like one of those deep dives or something. I forget who it is. But I think I added it to like one of my
recommended playlists on our YouTube channel. Right.
Like companion to the revisits. But they say that, what was it? I just blanked out. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. We'll let you catch up to your thoughts here.
We start with Jerry Lawler being a perv.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, about that. Thank you. I don't know how I could forget. They were saying that Vince was getting tired of the technical wrestling, which I have to say I'm a fan of hearing them talk about either like the different types of moves, because that's what I've been hearing, like 1 through
1 through 14,
14.
we've been accustomed to hearing everyone like, oh, this is a double leg lock, or this is a rear naked choke, and oh, he's got him with this move.
Yeah,
You
where
know,
they're
from Gorilla,
Yeah,
from 1 through 9,
we're
and
talking
then
about calling the action, like the
yeah,
play-by-play.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that he
And
doesn't
then
want to hear that anymore, and instead we hear stuff like boobs, and we're like, okay, well,
puppies.
you know, maybe that's doing it for people, but I was just
Well,
kind of like, ugh.
since we're on the topic of commentary, we got to note this is Michael Cole's first WrestleMania.
Yeah, I was gonna
What?
get to that one, and he's still
Yeah,
doing the job up to this
yeah,
day. So he's
but he was
24
out.
years strong.
Wow, that's
But
a long time.
he was in because JR was out with Bell's palsy, and
Yeah.
but JR ends up coming back and then taking the job on Raw for then on the next night after. But yeah, I guess we got to get to that part later
Mhm.
because
That's
Because he
true.
that
does
was
come
good.
back
Yeah.
for the main event. But
But
do
Michael
you?
Cole does make some mistakes, right?
Oh yeah.
And in fact, going into between this match and the next match,
Hmm.
is it the next match? No, sorry,
No,
it's
I
later
think
on.
you meant the Undertaker match.
Yeah, he spoils the main event, the ending to the main event.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it or not, but okay, so another '90s, very '90s thing. The Home Shopping Network was a thing, right?
What is it? HSN?
Yes.
Yeah, and they were talking about like after WrestleMania, it'll turn into the HSN where they're going to have all kinds of, you know, gifts and stuff from
Tonight's
WrestleMania,
pay-per-view.
and we'll also hear from the new heavyweight champion.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Spoiler alert to anybody who's revisiting as we're talking about
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so at
So.
the end of this match, we
Mhm.
see Sable do a Sable bomb on Tori and
Mhm.
pin her for the win to retain the championship.
Mhm.
This wasn't a fave for me. So this match was definitely a pass.
Yeah. Please just
Unless you want to watch that lady like military press her ass onto the ring, watch that part, watch the end.
watch Nicole Bass come out of the crowd and power military press Tori.
Yep. But otherwise it's a pass.
Mm. All right, and now we're moving on to
Seriously.
Shane McMahon versus X-Pac for the European Championship. This match goes 8 minutes and 41 seconds. Maria, you've seen X-Pac,
Mhm.
and now you've seen the spawn of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Shane McMahon.
The spawn of is that his son for real though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That is his son?
yes.
I don't know why I didn't.
Unless
It's not like a
it's not a story. It's
Kurt
not an
Angle, Shelton
Undertaker
Benjamin
Kane.
thing.
No.
It's
Is he
not
still
like
wrestling right now? Or
Andre the
Mm,
Giant and the Big
no.
Show.
is he part of like the corporation or
Yeah, he's part of the corporation.
part
He
of the
ventures.
business?
Yeah, he's becoming himself. He's becoming. He's incorporating himself more into the business now. So he's decided to be a talent.
Wow. And he looks just like him, right? Like I'm like, this guy looks like a McMahon, but I thought he was
Yeah,
like a
he's.
cousin. I didn't realize that was like his son.
Yeah, that's
So
his son. Yeah, he's a little bit shorter, I think, than Vince, but I think other than that, you see all of the Vince genes there. The double chin, the hair, the eyes,
the nose,
the nose.
the feet. Okay. So I was a fan of X-Pac or X-Pac, is it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like Tupac.
Yeah, it's like a random name.
Yeah.
So I think he has a lot of wrestling flair. And
Mhm.
Shane McMahon is a little, I don't want to say he's a little boring, but he's pulling all the moves, he's doing all the work, but he doesn't have a lot of finesse for me. So but I
Yeah,
think he's new, right?
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this is his WrestleMania debut, but he has been wrestling a little bit. I think since the Royal Rumble. Um, here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for his first match, I think he does an okay job. He's not like he's not the way Shane is now, or probably not anymore because he took that big tumble, and I think he tore something that last match he had when he did like one of those last coast to coasts.
He's had a few injuries in
Yeah,
a few
Oh,
different
has he?
pay-per-views throughout the
yeah,
course of time. Yeah, there
yeah,
Ooh.
was the
because
one
he's.
where he went through the glass with Kurt Angle,
Hmm.
and
Ooh.
they both got pretty tore up in that one. Like
Wow.
there's the glass that it was on the stage, like the screens, and he went through one of them.
What did you guys think about the Mean Street Posse? I thought that the storyline was a little weird.
You don't believe that
But that was
Shane
the
is in the
point.
mean streets of Greenwich?
That was the point of that storyline, is the fact it was so ridiculous.
But it was so ridiculous.
The
Okay.
mean
'Cause I was
streets
like,
of Greenwich.
I
Yeah,
was like, what is this?
right.
Yeah, I thought it was a weird storyline. X-Pac really belts it out to Shane.
Hmm. I think it's that mean streets of Greenwich or whatever. It's kind of like I guess you can call it like 1.0 version of Dominic Mysterio going to jail, and now he's a hardened criminal because he spent like 3 hours in jail, and now he knows how it is to be street tough.
Yeah, I guess overall,
Mhm.
did you think the match was a good match?
No, this seems more like it was more of a setting up for the bigger story, which we'd get at the end here.
I think my favorite part of this match is when Triple H came in and like
Yeah, and that's
China's back. So
so we get China and Triple H interfering in this match, and screwing their old friend over, X Pac, who was part of the Generation X,
mm,
and now they're severing their ties with the Generation X. So
Going corporate.
yeah, they all went corporate here on this particular pay-per-view. Hunter is showing his true colors when it comes to being a professional wrestler. He wants to get to the top, and he is going to go the corporate way.
I like that you're setting the stage for this.
So,
So Nate, what do you think about this match? Tell us more.
Um, yeah, I thought Shane showed up more than I was expecting at the
hmm.
time, uh, and I actually thought as far as you know like debut matches go is pretty good in that
Hmm.
regard. They had some good spots, and but of course X Spot Sean Waltman, I mean he's seasoned by this point. He can help make people look good. So and going back to the name, you were talking about how it's kind of a random name. I think how it progressed is he was originally in WWE the 1 2 3 Kid, right? And
Yeah.
then he switched to
Okay.
WCW and they just called him Six because 1 + 2 + 3, 6, right?
Right.
And that turned it. They started calling him Six Pac because Tupac was in it, and Six Pack, Six Pac. And then when he came over to WWE again, he was in DX, so it was just X Pac.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. So that's how they got to the name.
I
Yeah.
think so. Don't
Yes.
quote me on it, but
Mm,
I think so,
That's I
as I
believe
recall.
how it's always that way. The birth of that name.
Yeah.
well, I would say for me, this wouldn't be a revisit, but
Hmm.
we were talking about this. You said that this would be a revisit because we see Triple H turn heel.
It's more of it's like I guess if you want to see like the beginnings of Hunter like splintering his way and making his name as a singles competitor and no longer being tied to be like the leader of a stable.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if you could just take this part and this part and this part out of this pay-per-view and just like stick it all together, then you can watch this if you want to see how it goes from Hunter Hearst Helmsley to Triple H to after this he's the Game.
Mm.
So you could think about it that way, but I mean, it's really this watching this match just to see the the fallout of what happens afterwards of Triple H and China and everyone else
So what did you think
beating up
about
not only X-Pac but also the New Age Outlaws.
right? So what do you think about Triple H doing a pedigree on X-Pac and covering him with Shane? Was that just like an okay finish for you, or
That's just cements his turn. It's just like he's
More
turning
Vince
his back.
Russo stuff, man. That's classic Vince Russo endings. Schmozzes, just like that.
Mhm.
yeah? Well,
I mean, what
That
did
was
you
it was
think?
very common at the
Like,
time.
yeah,
Stuff like that.
well, for the match, I thought the wrestling was okay, but the story was really good for me. So the kayfabe is fun.
okay.
So I'm
So
like,
you were like eating your popcorn and you're like, give me more of this story
yeah, I was
of
like, all right, I'm here for the story. Let's keep it going.
Triple H is the villain. No, I never saw it coming.
He's
Let me
come a
clutch
long
my
way.
Swerve, bro.
Like, I was like, he's come a long way from when we first started seeing him
Yeah,
wrestle.
he's no longer curtsying and coming out to Beethoven's song that they use in Die Hard to when they break into the vault.
So with that,
Then we take it to a match that's making its WrestleMania debut. The
ooh,
Hell in the Cell, or Hell in a Cell, excuse me, not the Cell, but a Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker, now leading the Ministry of Darkness, and the corporate security, or the head of corporate security, the Big Boss Man. He's back.
he's back. Yeah, I haven't seen Big Boss Man in a while, so but I'm not rooting for him. I'm rooting for The Undertaker.
Okay, so you were all part of that whole darkness, and you're like, yes, I'm buying what the Undertaker is preaching.
Also a fan of Paul Bearer and all his faces.
This is probably the darkest iteration of the Phenom Undertaker is during this time
Mhm.
period.
What do you mean?
He was sacrificing people on Monday Night Raw. He was,
Yeah, he was tying them up. Remember, we saw the
yeah,
montage and setting things on fire and
yeah,
going
and he
after
just
Vince.
and very cold. This was also no, it had to be before this, but there was one Monday Night Raw where Undertaker and Kane came down and interrupted every match, just beat the hell
Oh,
out of
I remember that
everybody.
one. I think that's later, isn't that when they want to go for the tag titles and they just want to interrupt
I
everything?
don't remember. I want to say it was before this though.
Mm. Because they're still not together, and I think
Right.
that's when they start doing the Brothers of Destruction gimmick.
No, it was after their first feud, and then they started working together for a bit, but then they drifted apart. And I
Okay.
want to say Undertaker went into this version of the Undertaker right after that, but I could be wrong. I'm
Okay.
not sure. It gets kind of muddied together.
No, I understand because they come together and they come apart very,
Yeah.
very, 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 very often.
Yeah.
I was excited to see The Undertaker wrestle, but for this match, it was kind of slow going for me. And they were moving kind of slow.
Well,
And
like I think the Big Boss Man isn't one guy that, like, one other wrestler that you think that is gonna be creating the fast paced action that you're probably used to.
mhm.
And then he's facing the Undertaker, which he's already like at a height disadvantage of it. So you're like, my thing is, I know I saw the sizzle reel, the highlight thing to
Mhm.
sell you on why this needs a Hell in a Cell but I really still don't see why it's needed, because even though he's a corporate security guy for Vince, like, what stakes does the Big Boss Man need to have to actually feel the need to settle this in a Hell in a Cell?
I think it was for
Mm.
the pay-per-view buys. I mean,
Yeah.
we're coming off of the King of the Ring Hell in the Cell with Undertaker Mankind, which is arguably one of the most talked about wrestling matches of the Attitude, if not the most talked about wrestling match of
Right.
the Attitude Era, right?
And that's
And this is the first WrestleMania after. Well, if we need the pay-per-view buys, we got to have a Hell in the Cell with the Undertaker.
Let's see if we can do it out there again.
And at a certain point, this match was so boring for me. I started to reminisce about Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior and how exciting the wrestling was.
Yeah, she asked me, she's like, who's that wrestler that had the tassels? And I go, who are you talking about? And I thought she was referring to someone in this card. And she's like, you know, he used to run. Or
I
I'm like,
was
are you
like,
talking about the Ultimate Warrior?
I blinked out for a moment. We talk about him so often. And he is like one of my favorites. But I was like, this match to me just got so boring. Even with Big Boss Man cuffing Undertaker. I guess it's cuffing season. But even that was just like a little lackluster for me.
Yeah. So I think we can say that it was a pass for this one.
For me, this
I
match
would
is a pass.
I don't know if it's the worst Hell in the Cell in WrestleMania history, but at least they utilized the cell. They ran each other into it a few times. If there have been some, it's
Right.
like they put them in a Hell in the Cell and they don't even go outside the ring.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
Like, what was the point? Why did they pay somebody to hang it from the top and then drop it?
Right.
If they're not even going to utilize it.
That leads me
But,
to
yeah, the Undertaker finishes him with his finishing move, the
right.
tombstone, and yay, the match is finally over.
Yeah.
I'm like,
not
dang, this
quite.
Oh wait,
Well, I mean, we
you're
do
right.
get the little bit of the aftermath. The Undertaker's looking up to the heavens or to the roof of the stadium to give their people their cue, which ends up being the Brood, Gangrel, Edge, and Christian rappel down with no problems, thankfully.
Yeah,
They made
I
it
was
to the
thinking
top of
about
the
that.
They were on different harnesses because they went back up too. So that's a
Yeah.
different kind of.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because they got to retract themselves. They got to retract
Right.
the line back. So,
Yeah.
they end up breaking the aluminum web mesh, whatever that they need to get through to the top of the cage,
Mhm.
and they drop a noose. Our second signing of a noose in WrestleMania history, but at least this time it was not of a man color this time.
So the vampires, like you said, Gangrel, Christian, and Edge. Is that the current Edge that just changed their name?
Yes, it's the current Edge
Yep.
who is now on AEW as his government name, Adam Copeland.
Okay.
And Christian's on AEW too.
Yes,
is?
but Christian's not his government name.
Yeah.
What's his wrestling name?
His wrestling name is Christian.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say
his
something.
government name is J.
JSO or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Riso or something like that.
Yeah, Rezo. I think it's Rezo.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my apologies to Christian.
If you manage
J.
to watch this, we're still big fans of
Yeah.
you.
Big fans.
Yeah.
I was excited.
And I
to
love
see
that
the
theme
commissioner.
music from like the early 2000s too. Love it.
Yeah, the operatic one and everything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I like that one and the one after that. If you can see it, if you just close your eyes, one. I like that one too.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I'd have to
And he had great theme music. And the Brood theme music, the original Brood theme music, that was dope too.
My thing is if they were the Brood, why did it come from above and not from below? Like they could have been like underneath the ring.
It's a swerve, bro.
Oh,
I could have seen it. I agree with you. Like coming from below, and I had the expectation. I'm like, are these guys gonna crawl on the cage? Because that would have made it more exciting, or like crawl up onto the cage from the outside.
That would have been too much work for them, though.
Is that too much? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
What I was most surprised by, though, is how apathetic the crowd was to seeing somebody get strung up in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, you're right.
They were just like, "Oh, hey, whatever. Yeah, he's sure."
They're like, "Oh, the cage is coming back up, and this guy's getting hung by a noose. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just."
Michael Cole was like, "What is this? Is this symbolic? Is the Undertaker? Is it symbolic?" I'm like, "Bitch, a dude just got strung up."
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
I guess they had to make it up to the big boss man. I guess that's how you end up with this match being like close to the main event, because Big Boss Man's probably like, if you want me to get strung up here, Mr. McMahon, I'm gonna have to get a bigger paycheck. Yeah. So instead of being at the front of it, just put it towards the back.
Yeah. Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier, coming off of the Mankind Undertaker Hell in a Cell, I think what it was, if we're gonna have a Hell in a Cell, we have to have it as, big of a deal as what Mankind did. Boss was like, "Yo, I ain't jumping off that cell, man. I ain't doing it." Well, we strung them up.
Well, before we move on here, I know you mentioned the Mankind and Undertaker match, but to our banner because I did not think this was a good one. Do you have or can you think of any other Hell in the Cell matches that Maria should watch to be like, this is what a Hell in a Cell match should be, and this is how you make one pay off?
I mean, absolutely the Mankind Hell in a Cell one, Mankind Undertaker one at King of the Ring '98. That's the pinnacle. There was the Shawn Michaels Undertaker one,
That was
the
Survivor
original one.
Series?
I don't
I think I know
remember
which one you're talking about though. Yeah, or
original Hell in a Cell,
yeah.
right? There was also another one later on that was Triple H Mick Foley that was pretty good. And then, I mean, Shawn Michaels' retirement match was a Hell in a Cell, wasn't it?
I don't think it was.
Against the Undertaker. He did a Hell in a Cell.
He did another Hell in a Cell later, but I think
Yeah.
I don't think that one that he did at WrestleMania, when it was HBK in his all white garb and Undertaker in his dark garb. I don't think that one was a Hell in a Cell one.
Then that was the one before the retirement match because they wrestled 2 years in a row at WrestleMania. So it was the one before that. That was still a good match.
So, all right. So we got 4 choices here for you to watch here.
There's one in particular, the Mankind Undertaker one at King of the Ring '98 in Pittsburgh.
That's where he loses his teeth.
Yeah, that's where his tooth ends up in his nose. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. He falls 16 feet to the outside through the announce table.
Ooh.
It's awesome. I showed my
I thought
kids
they were
that
going to stop
recently.
that match once he took that
He
fall.
still started wrestling, though, right? He kept going.
Yeah, he climbs up that cage again.
Yeah. And not only that, he climbs up the cage again, gets chokeslammed through the cage, and when the chair falls, and that breaks his tooth through his nose. And then he ends up getting chokeslammed onto thumbtacks.
Oh no!
Right, and then he ends up getting tombstone beside the thumbtacks, and then he runs out for the main event.
Wow!
Like the main event was Kane when Kane won his first title against Stone Cold. It's because Mankind interfered.
I have so much respect for Mick Foley. It's ridiculous.
No, it's insane. And during that run out, usually when you see the heel run out with the chair, it's all you get a boo. But it was more like, no, stop, please don't come out, Mick. You're gonna hurt yourself, please. The crowd reaction. You're gonna die. We don't want to see that.
No, we don't. Oh, man.
No, that's a classic.
Wow.
Yeah,
definitely. And then we have the main event.
Well, were you guys excited to see Shawn Michaels? Commissioner Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, Commissioner Shawn Michaels comes out here, now retired, but yeah, he has to make a living because those medical procedures are not cheap. So Vince decides to do him a solid and keep him on the roster so he gets paid. So he comes out and he makes a decision that Vince cannot appoint himself as a special guest referee. That only Shawn Michaels, the showstopper, the commissioner of the WWF now can make that decision.
Yeah.
And he decides that everyone from the corporation is barred, except for the owner himself, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and that we're just going to have a regular referee.
We're going to have a special referee.
Mike Chioda. He is not just a regular referee. That's Mike Chioda.
Who takes a chair shot.
He does.
Unprotected chair shot. Yeah. There's
I saw an interview with him about that and leading up that. They were talking about and Stone Cold was like, yeah, just put your hand up. He was like, I'm not going to put my hand up. This is WrestleMania, and I'm going to take a chair shot. He said it rung his bell for like 3 days.
Wow.
Like he was hearing like,
crazy. But I love to hear the story. Like,
so knowing that we have The Rock coming out and Stone Cold, who were you rooting for, Maria?
I'm rooting for The Rock all day.
Yeah, because The Rock
that's where I was at that time too.
Yeah, me too.
The Rock was so over. Both of those guys were totally over, but The Rock was like fresher, and Stone Cold had been doing his thing for a little bit longer now. So what The Rock was doing was just phenomenal at the time. Plus those sideburns.
Oh,
I
yeah.
rocked those sideburns for like a good 4 years because he was doing that.
Did you practice doing your people's raise of the eyebrow?
I tried, but I can't do it nearly as well. That guy has like a perfect arch to it, and it's
that eyebrow.
yeah.
So, and then it's kind of a good like kind of undercover meteoric rise from The Rock, from when he started as Rocky Maivia to being in the Nation of Domination, and now he is, he's the WWE champion.
He started really finding his footing on the mic and in his promos, like to the point that it was just he tried to be heel. They tried to turn him heel with the corporate, and people were still cheering for him.
Yeah,
because it really shadowed what happened with Stone Cold, because Stone Cold they were trying to make heel, but people were still cheering for him. So they were like, okay, and so they had two anti-heroes, and everybody knew that this was going to be the main event of WrestleMania. They just had to get there, and it was the twists and turns to get there. And like I said earlier, the trash talk between these two for at least that month leading up to this was just some of the best
Really good.
I had ever heard. Yeah, up those. However, like most matches that are hyped up to this point, it's very, very hard to deliver on the same greatness as the hype. When Ric Flair first came to WWF and won the belt in that they were thinking it's going to be Hogan Flair at WrestleMania, but they knew at the time that the chemistry wasn't there. Like it wasn't going to be that good, so they ended up doing other things. I forget exactly which WrestleMania and
WrestleMania 8 is the one that had Macho Man and Ric Flair. Ric Flair had won the WWF championship at when it was vacated, so he won it at the Royal Rumble, and that's when they started the tradition of whoever wins the Royal Rumble now challenges the champion at the main event of WrestleMania.
Right. Thank you. But
I've only been that was like 6-7 weeks ago, so we did that. So so fresh in my mind. You haven't been watching these.
But they knew the chemistry wasn't there. However, The Rock and Steve Austin definitely had chemistry. They have some of the best chemistry of two, and plus phenomenal performers at the time. And to be completely fair, it was like a month or so later, they had another match on Raw that was like 16 minutes long that was really good. Really, really good. And then, of course, they did 2 more WrestleManias after this.
Wow. So are they the next they're the next main event for the next 2 WrestleManias, or do they do just like a regular match?
No, the next one
they like skipped one and then did it, and then skipped another one and then did it. I believe
they're all together in the next one in 16, because that's a McMahon in every corner, and they all have their own champion on the main event. Linda has a big show.
It's not a solo match.
Yeah, it's not a solo match. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of those guys is in every main event for like the next 8 years.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, I think it's it's got to be, if it's not Stone Cold, like you says, one of them is in there. Stone Cold has like an injury that he has to take care of.
Yeah, he has his neck.
Yeah, so The Rock carries it for a little bit.
I went to a Raw in 2000, and Stone Cold was out with the neck surgery, and The Rock was carrying at the time. But yeah, that was the it was the Raw. I remember the date, January 31st, 2000. First appearance, the WWE debut of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn.
Oh, the Radicals.
Yeah, they were like 6 rows in front of me.
Nice.
That's awesome. That is cool. Really cool.
And now we are only left with 2 of them.
Yeah.
Out of those 4. One of them still.
It's surprising one of them is Perry Saturn. Yeah. That dude's had some troubles.
Yeah, and one of them still working in the back. Yeah. I think he's still working for Vince. Or no longer Vince. He's working for, TKO Sports now, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
something.
so
I have it's been difficult for me to keep track with all the twists and turns of what's happening behind the scene as of lately.
Well,
But
the crowd loves them. They're in the audience. And what I really like about The Rock since he started, or since I've seen him wrestling, is
yeah,
that he definitely knows how to play the crowd and work with the crowd.
yeah.
In between his wrestling and all of his facial expressions
as
and the
does
things that he
Stone
says.
Cold,
Yeah.
hmm
right?
But
And
I think from what I've been telling Maria, I think that The Rock has done better at being able to not conform, but like to adapt to the crowd, and when he needs to be like a full heel, or when he needs to be the face. Where I think Stone Cold probably had more. He rode the middle because he was like the anti-hero.
yeah,
When it came to him being like a full heel, as it happens later on,
yeah,
it wasn't really as much as accepted by me. I'm not sure about you or anyone else, but by me, I
nah.
didn't seem like it was like genuine to what we've been accustomed to his character to be.
After this WrestleMania, I couldn't see either of them as heels ever.
Wow.
Yeah, they were just. I mean, The Rock. He was able to play the audience later on because when he went to Hollywood and they were kind of
Hmm
mad because he leaving for Hollywood. He played into that, which was
hmm
smart, which has made me like him even more.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah.
Because I like heels. I like bad guys.
hmm
And but yeah, but
Except for
yeah,
John Cena. I'm a.
he's never gone heel either.
No.
That's what
But he
I'm
has a
saying.
different
I'm like,
reason.
I love John Cena.
Yeah,
So
he's like,
Yeah.
they can't fulfill all these make a wishes and still be a bad guy.
Well,
he's
it's
awesome.
also Spaces sell more merchandise. He makes more money.
Well, I'm hoping that we can see. And have you ever watched? And I don't know if we talked about this before. I can't remember. Have you seen the show that John Cena's been in, where he plays like a superhero?
Oh,
Peacemaker.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is.
I
They
loved
have how
it.
many seasons? Is it
Just
just the
one.
one?
They're working on season 2, but
Two?
the strike kind of killed the filming,
Okay.
so they're working on getting back on it.
That is like one of the best series
So
for anybody listening or
the
watching.
intro, it might have the
Yeah,
best intro
the
of
intro was the
any
best.
The characters,
superhero.
the
Yeah,
writing, the story, like all of it's super
Mhm.
cool. So definitely recommend that you watch that.
Yeah,
So as far as this match,
yeah. What did you think about it? How did you go? You were cheering for who? Like we went on a little bit of a tangent for this
yeah.
16-minute, 52-second match.
we see the ref get rock bottom. Don't forget. So the ref's getting a lot of action. We also
Which
see a
one? There was
oh
what, a
Yeah, we
total of
get
wait,
4 refs.
We get
do we have
Kyoto.
more refs?
Yeah, Kyoto takes the chair shot that we mentioned that rung his bell for like
Okay.
3 days.
Yeah,
Tim White takes the rock bottom, and then Earl comes in,
the
and
headman. Yeah, not his
he
evil twin, the real
no,
Earl
yeah, not the
Hebner.
other brother, but Earl.
Yeah.
I forget how Earl gets taken out, but he ends up getting taken
Uh,
out. Was it on a bump? It just like gets in the way.
no, McMahon comes in and punches him out.
Oh, okay. McMahon punches him out, and that's when we get the return of
Yeah.
Mankind. He
Mhm.
escapes from the hospital and he makes his way down.
Yeah, I love Mankind only because for many reasons. So I shouldn't say only, but he also reminds me of my uncle Dave, who is like that larger than life character and really rough around the edges. So
If you get a chance to read his autobiography, it's
The
a
first one.
great read. Yeah, the first one. Have a nice day.
Mhm.
I made the
oh,
bestsellers list.
Yeah. My favorite thing about Mick Foley is when he makes the sound effects when he's punching something. He's like, I did that. Yeah, I did that.
Uh,
oh
I
man.
like how he doesn't look like he should be able to move the way he does,
Yeah.
yet
And
he
he can
does.
move.
He
hmm
can. He uses his entire body as
He's
Yeah.
like
got a motor
a
on him.
missile. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the dumpster match is one of my favorite matches to date from him.
hmm
That man can move. He's hardcore, so and he's still going. I was like, I
Um,
feel like I watched him about a month or 2 months ago on an episode of Hot Ones talking about his kids and eating vegan wings because his kids are
I thought you
vegan.
meant,
So
yeah, he's not still wrestling.
no,
No,
oh no,
I think he's had
thankfully
quite
he's
a
not.
few
no,
new
thankfully,
Uh,
no,
new
no.
hips, new knees, new,
Oh no.
oh no, that's a
not new
bionic
teeth though.
McFoley then.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about McMahon like helping Rock stomp Stone Cold in the ring? Do you think it was just part of the kayfabe, part of the story? It was okay, or
No, I mean that's the way that the storyline has progressed
Yeah.
now since WrestleMania 14, or not really WrestleMania 14, but from like the Montreal Screwjob that we
Yeah.
did the bonus episode. That's Vince has now made himself the ultimate bad guy in this
Yeah,
company.
he's the biggest heel in the company, which was
So
really smart.
yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, it might have been Vince Russo. I don't like to give him a lot of credit, but if he's the one that is like, hey, we have to just go full on in. You become a character. You put yourself out there. You become the face of the company that everybody hates. So you gotta like embrace it and just go out there and live it. And that's why they ended up turning everything around.
Well, also, I think the rise of Stone Cold happened to be happening at such a point where at such the right time where it made
Mm-hmm.
sense because he was the anti-boss. You know, he's the blue collar guy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
do things like that, and everybody wants to see. So everybody wanted to kick the shit out of their boss at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could
Yeah, I
see
said that
somebody
last
do it
one,
every
and she
Monday
laughed
night.
at me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
that it's just everything just worked out for that. Like everything just lined up.
yeah.
Um, however it needed to for Vince to take over.
yeah. So we see Austin deliver a stunner. We get the win.
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys satisfied with that win, or
There was a series of each other doing each other's finishes, two
Yeah.
false finishers, and of course, let's discuss real quick how The Rock sells the stunner better than anybody else. You know,
Yeah.
the way he handles is just phenomenal. But
Mm-hmm. He's better than Vince.
oh yeah,
Vince is taking so many of those, and he just can't sell that move for anything. He just goes limp. He's just like, "Brr."
that's part of the charm now, though.
yeah, this match goes 16 minutes and 52 seconds, but it felt longer.
It did feel longer. I'm not sure, like, if it was like the anticipation of knowing that Stone Cold is gonna win, but like revisiting this and watching this, like, I was like, it says 16 minutes, but it seems like it's at least maybe like 22-minute long
Is
match.
that bell to bell, or does that count like everything that
It's
happened
bell to
after the match?
bell.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because they did a lot after the match too with Stone Cold,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
Stone Cold
drinking
celebrates for like
and he brought McMahon back in and was drinking with Hebner and
for a minute I thought it was gonna be the point where it's the DTA Stone Cold, because there's one point where he's celebrating with Earl, and then he ends up stunning him in the middle of a drink. So I thought that this was it, but this was not it. I was like, oh, it's not gonna happen.
So would you recommend to those listening, to those watching, that they re-watch the main event
Of wrestling.
between Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and The Rock?
Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like the beginning of a feud for the ages. Stone Cold and The Rock and Stone Cold, whether one is a face or one is the anti-hero or one is the heel and the other one's still the anti-hero.
If we're talking Mount Rushmore of feuds, The
Yeah.
Rock and Stone Cold is definitely up there.
Yeah, you know how we had HBK and Bret Hart in the previous few years. This is like that newer, updated version of that. Only they didn't really hate each other as much as Bret hated Sean.
Yeah, that's okay. And then Nate, I heard you talking about some of these main events where the match doesn't live up to the hype. What do you think
Yeah,
overall about this final match?
well, I mean, at the time it paid off only because you knew more was coming Monday night, and it became more of like the beginning of something. So it definitely paid off becoming what it did over the course of the next 6 years at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, at the time I was definitely completely satisfied. I felt like I left watching WrestleMania. Okay, that was great. Now, what's
Wow.
for dinner? You know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What about
Right?
you, Ben?
I thought this match was a solid match, definitely a rewatch for me. Recommend that you revisit this match.
Mhm.
I also wish that there was some more technical wrestling because I feel like we get a lot of
You get
time.
This was a
yeah.
We get a
brawling
lot of
match.
time in the crowd, which is, the I as a fan love when wrestlers come into the crowd. Love being part of the action. We see The Rock grab water,
Mhm.
he spits it at Stone Cold. Like,
Mhm.
love all of that. But I would have liked to have seen some more wrestling moves. But definitely a revisit for me.
No, I can see where you're going with that, especially when they do go out to the crowd. It still seems like the producer or the camera guys aren't ready, or even security aren't ready for them to go out there because it's like there's still a big swarm of guys around them. They don't give them the space they're needed to like punch back and forth or get a camera guy to get us that like these shots of them actually wrestling up close. So besides that, I mean, if I'm gonna have to nitpick on a match that I'm recommending, regardless of those particular issues, production wise, it's something that I think you have to watch, especially if you're a fan of either Stone Cold or The Rock. You have to watch this match just because this is how you have like a match build up where these two performers can go either way as far as like tailoring their characters to the crowd and giving you a finish that you probably won't be disappointed in. Like even if The Rock would have ended up winning, I think that crowd still would have been hot and they still would have been
Yeah.
cheering, but it still wouldn't has been as big as probably as the pop that we've got from Stone Cold winning, just because all Vince was trying his best to stack the deck against Stone Cold because Stone Cold is not the corporate champion that he wants. And this, like Nate had pointed out, this was the way to screw your boss over, win one for the blue collar guy. And I think that was the best way for this pay-per-vieiew and the build up from the pay-per-view to pay off, because this is a storyline that technically started from when Vince tried to win the Royal Rumble entry away from Stone Cold.
Mhm. All
Oh, it
right.
started before that. The McMahon Austin rivalry started like 2 years before this, because it was still when Raw was in the old set and he was wearing the Raw is War. He
Oh,
was
the Royals War pin.
Yeah, no, it was embroidered onto his shirt, and
Oh,
he had
okay.
like the whole thing. He was part of the announce team still.
Wow.
Right? They
Mm.
they they had been, yeah, no, they had been kind of, but there was no their first real like match was a month before this, which was the steel cage match. I
Right.
remember that
St.
they did the
Valentine's
Royal
Massacre.
Rumble. Yeah, they did the Royal Rumble, but then that was the first time they were in a ring with each
Mm-hmm.
other, and it ended up going all over the arena. But
Wow.
but that had been building up for some time,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
and then The Rock. I mean, people just wanted to see that because, again, as Carlos just mentioned, I mean, these were people would have been happy with either outcome because they were both just massive, great workers, great on the mic. Just they're legends. They're
Right.
both legends. If The Rock still wasn't coming back every so often, he'd be in the Hall of Fame, right? For
Wow.
sure.
Yeah.
Like he's a first Carter, but the fact that he says, "Well, I might come back someday," they aren't putting him in
Right.
Yeah, and people are still trying to peg him to come back to do the whole bloodline storyline against
yet.
Roman.
Mm.
So it's one
It,
of those things where it's like they're still waiting for him to come back and be like, take Roman Reigns away from us and have The Rock come back and crown someone else as champion.
wow.
Well, he's not saying no to anything. That's the thing. He's,
Mm-hmm.
the times that they start getting him, sometimes it's a schedule conflict on either side, either
Yeah.
WWE or The Rock. Different stuff. The last WrestleMania he wrestled, he tore his pec, and that pissed off Michael Bay. because
Ooh.
he had to do a whole bunch of what's the word I'm looking for?
Stunt?
Promotion
Oh, promotion.
for that Pain and Gain movie that he wasn't able to do. He had to go on like talk shows and stuff, but
Oh,
he wasn't able to
wow.
make it because he tore his pec muscle.
Ooh.
Michael Bay was like, "You did it during those fake wrestling matches." I'm like, "Well, your movies are fake too, Michael
Wow.
Bay."
That's
You
where he
know,
came from.
there really aren't giant robots that turn into cars, Michael Bay.
What?
Transformers?
Yeah, there's a Michael Bay movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he supposed to be in Transformers?
No,
No.
Transformers
Oh.
is a Michael Bay movie. Who was the
Yeah.
director that got mad at The Rock?
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying neither is your stuff isn't real either, Michael
That's
Bay.
really funny.
Maria was taking it literally.
I was like, what? Was he supposed to be in the
Yeah.
Transformers
Right.
movie?
Right. She was like, I want a robot that turns into a car.
Right?
Yeah. Like, I'm a fan of The Rock. I think we just watched the last
yeah.
Transformers and it wasn't terrible.
No,
So.
the last one wasn't that terrible. But the primal
Beast?
bots, the Beast Wars or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I didn't mind that.
So, wrapping this up now, as we normally do. We'll get into our match recommendations. Maria, do you want to lead it off?
Yeah, so match recommendations for moi, is a match with Hardcore Holly.
The first one?
Yeah,
The
so
Hardcore Championship match between Hardcore Holly versus Badass Billy Gunn and Al Snow.
Mhm.
I also recommend that match. Nate?
Yeah, I got thrown in there. I mean, I like the entire hardcore match era, and this is a pretty good example of it.
All right. Any other match that you recommend, Nate?
I mean, definitely Rock Stone Cold.
Okay, I am in agreement with that one. Rock and Stone Cold.
I agree. Yeah, that was also a favorite for me.
I don't have any other match that I recommend, but if you have 35 seconds to spare and you want to see someone get knocked out, do yourself a favor and watch Butterbean versus Bart Gunn.
I was about to say, I would recommend that too, only because it gives you an idea of how bad this can all turn south.
That's true.
Right. And Maria, do you have another one?
Well, that's the same. That Butterbean defeated Bart Gunn by KO.
Right.
That brawl for all for 35 seconds.
Right.
We saw him get wrecked. And then the other one is Road Dogg. If you didn't know, you better call somebody.
Oh, the Intercontinental Championship match. Okay.
And Ryan Shamrock and Ken Shamrock.
And Val Venus.
And Val Venus in that white towel.
Okay.
So watch that.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much here for joining us on our WrestleMania 15 revisit. We do have an announcement, as I had alluded to earlier. We are having a giveaway. So, if you watched our Montreal Screwjob bonus episode, you might have already known. But if you're just watching it and you just are joining us for the first time, we are giving our goodbye to an era of the new generation. And so we are giving away this Funko Pop that commemorates WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match. Sorry about that. Between HBK, Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart. So all you have to do is be a YouTube subscriber and comment on this particular episode on YouTube. You have to be living within the continental United States with a mailing address of the United States, and the winner will be picked before our latest episode goes up. Again, we do plan on live streaming on December 2nd for WrestleMania 16 for that revisit. So the contest will end on December 1st. Please do yourself a favor. If you're a fan of HBK, if you're a fan of Bret Hart, and you love that Funko Pop, and who doesn't like Funko Pops, get yourself subscribed to our channel, sign up for notifications, and comment.
Nate, do you have anything to shout out?
No, just thanks for having me again. Love the show, of course.
Yeah.
And
thank you for joining us. We love having you on, just as we love having all of our friends on, and not only sharing their knowledge of wrestling. Sometimes people have a little bit more than I do, and they have to chime in and refresh my memory, but also sharing the knowledge with my wife, who's doing this WrestleMania rewatch here.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Love to hear the stories. Also, hearing that you were there live too is pretty awesome. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. All right. If you got nothing else to plug, Nate, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. I'll plan on uploading the audio for our audio subscribers on Spotify and Apple and Spreaker on Monday morning of the 27th. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Bye.